In this unit, we're going to be studying different ways to represent the relationship between two sets of numbers. So we've already looked at ordered pairs. We know that they always contain an x value and a y value. They're always written in this order, x and then y. And when we have a set of ordered pairs, this is called a relation. And there are multiple ways that you can represent a relation. One way is just to have a set of ordered pairs, just a list of ordered pairs. Okay, this right here is also a way to express the relationship between the first numbers of your x and the second numbers of your y. Okay, and this is called a mapping. And the arrows just connect the x to the y. So this x, -2, goes with this y, 3. And this x, 0, goes with this y, -1. So you have x's here and y's here. All right? Another way to represent this relation is to just make a table. An XY table. Okay, you've seen these before. And then the last way that we're going to look at today is just to use a graph to show the relationship. So on a graph, right, you have a number, these numbers down here are the x values, these numbers right here are your y values. So each point has its own distinct set of x and y values. Okay? All right. So when you look at the x values, this is called the domain. Okay, the domain is the x. It's the x coordinates. So before, you may have called the x values, this list of x's right here, you may have called it the input because these are at one point, you call it input-output tables. Or you may have identified them as the independent quantity or the independent variable. These are all just names of the same thing. This list right here, this list of x values, this is called the domain for the set of numbers, okay? Just like it used to be called the input, or it may have been called the independent values. Okay, and then this set right here, the y values, are going to be called the range. Okay, so the range is y. And this is also called the output or the dependent quantities or the dependent variables. All right, so this is your range. The set is it's called the range. Okay, or before you may have called it the output or dependent. Okay, it's really just another way to describe the same set of numbers. All right, so let's look at ways to represent relations. So it says represent the relation, okay, -5, 2, 3, -1, 6, 2, and 1, 7 as a table, a graph, and a mapping. Then determine the domain and range. Right, so they've given you the relation as a set of ordered pairs, so you're just going to rewrite it in these different forms. Right, so -5, 2, remember x comes first, and then y, and you're just going to do this for each of the points, 6 and 2 and 1 and 7. As a graph, you're just going to graph the points, so -5 is the x value. So if this is -6, -5 is here, and 2 would be right here. Okay, 3, -1, so I'm going to go over to 3. This is 2, so if I go over to 3, that's halfway. And then down to -1 would be like right there. 6, 2, so this is 6. I'm going to go over to 6 and up to 2. And then 1, 7. I'm going to go over to 1, up to 7. So 7's like in between, so right there. Okay, so these points are another way to show the relation of this set of ordered pairs. And then the last way is to use a mapping. All right, so I'm just going to list these. Typically, you list these in order. I'm going to go ahead and list these in order as well. So -5 goes with 2, and you just draw an arrow connecting the x to the y. Okay, and then I have a 3, and that connects to a -1. And I have a 6, and that connects to, now, since these both connect to 2, I don't have to rewrite the 2. I just need to draw an arrow to that 2. And then 1 goes to 7, so I'm going to go ahead and draw an arrow to 7. Okay? All right, so you can have an arrow go to more than one number. Just know that. So this is called a mapping. All right, next it says a movie rental store charges $3.95 per movie rental. Make a table of ordered pairs in which the x-coordinate represents the number of movies rented and the y-coordinate represents the total cost for 1, 2, 3, or 4 movies. All right, so x is going to be the number of movies and y is going to be the cost of the movies. All right, so I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 movies. It tells me that it's $3.95 per movie, so that's for one movie. So for 2 movies, I just need to multiply. That would be 10, 18, 19, and then 1, 2, $7.90. And then for 3 movies, I would just need to multiply by 3, 15, 27, 28, carry your 2. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 2 is 11. That would be $11.85. And then $3.95 times 4 would be 20, 36, 38. 12 plus 3 is 15, and 2 decimals. All right, so $15.80. Okay, so I've made my table. Now I'm going to graph my ordered pairs. So since this graph hasn't been labeled, I'm going to go ahead and do that. I know that my X values are the number of movies. So I'm just going to label this part as the number of movies, this axis. And then the Y values are my cost in dollars. So I'm going to go ahead and put that. All right, so when X is 1, Y is $3.95. So that would be a little less than 4. And then when X is 2, Y is $7.90. So that would be a little less than 8. And 3, $11.85 is a little less than 12. And 4, $15.80 would be a little less than 16. Okay, so here's my set of ordered pairs on a graph. And then the next thing I want to do is draw a mapping. Okay, so when X is 1, that goes to Y, $3.95. And when X is 2, that goes to the Y, $7.90. When X is 3, that's going to go to $11.85. And when X is 4, that goes to $15.80. Okay, and then my last step after I do my mapping is to determine the domain and the range. So the domain is the list of numbers here. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. These are my X values. Domain is X. Okay, and then I list my range. Remember, range is Y. So that would be these numbers here. $3.95, $7.90, $11.85, and $15.80. Okay, oh, and I believe I forgot to do that up here. So I'm going to go back and do this because, yes, it also wanted the domain and range. So for this set of numbers, the domain, the X's were -5, 3, 6, and 1. And the range, my Y's, were 2, -1. And since I already have a 2, I don't have to list it again. And then 7. Okay? All right, so just kind of to repeat, relations are a set of ordered pairs of numbers. It can be represented multiple ways, but we looked at tables, graphs, and mappings. And then we also specified the domain and the range. And so the domain is just the list of the X values here, the list of the X values. The range will be the list of the Y values. All right, see you in class.